without being conservative, I'm still aware that it's a long day. And my mantra for the race was be patient. So I was thinking about it on the bike. Even though I was racing, I was still thinking, like when Cody Bills passed me on the bike on La Concepcion, which is one of the hills of the race. I knew that I had these specific watts that I couldn't push higher. Like every time I was pushing higher on the hills, I was burning like matches. So I knew that maybe like before, like a few years ago, I would have gone with him and probably burned too many matches and burn on the run like I did last year. So I was racing, but I was being maybe more aware of the fact that it's Ironman, and I have a lot more respect for the race since the race I had last year. Like I wasn't able to finish, and after the race I was super emotional. Like I saw all the finishers and I was staying until midnight to see the last finisher, and it was I was sad that I DNF. Like, so one of the goals was to finish. Like no matter what, I wanted to finish. So that's why I said be patient, but do your race and have fun, because you need to have fun. You need to race and you need to go all in. And if I need to walk the last 10K, I'm gonna walk the last 10K because I want to be an Ironman. I don't want to be left like last year all winter thinking about why did I blow out on the run and collapse. Like, don't make the same mistakes again.
That was Antoine Desroches, and you are tuning into episode 121 of the Yogi Triathlete podcast. Hey, YT community, welcome back. I'm Jess, and for the second week in a row, I'm not really your host. That's right, BJ is behind the controls again this week, bringing us another installment of the YTP post Ironman Mont Tremblant, where, by the way, he ended up 3 spots and 7 minutes away from reaching his Kona goal. He is so freaking close. And Ironman Santa Rosa 2019 is where it's going down. So if you're planning on doing that race, definitely let us know. And if you're already signed up, but you're freaking out, then just join Team Yogi Triathlete and we'll be right by your side the entire way. Coach BJ knows this course extremely well. And well, our team is just a high-vibing tribe of athletes that have grown into a family. And actually, Ironman Santa Rosa is one of our team events. So if you're looking to take your game to the next level, the awake and ready level, right? Let's not pretend that we only train the body here. Then shoot us an email and let's get the convo started. We would love to have you. I have to say, BJ rocks this interview with Antoine. I really loved listening to it, but it seems like they had a little mic issue. We just got these new travel mics. Sound quality is still pretty darn awesome, and you'll see, it's perfect. So if you followed coverage for Ironman Mont Tremblant, then you know that Antoine crushed the swim in 50:10, took the lead on the bike. With the likes of Lionel Sanders and Matt Russell on the hunt, this guy was biking hard from the get-go. And I am going to leave it there because Antoine and BJ dive into his epic day in detail, which he wasn't even sure that he would be on the start line for just days before. Antoine definitely has a yogi side to him, and I know he's been meditating and practicing present moment awareness. One of my favorite studies to quote is from 1999, where it was concluded that present moment awareness is the essence of the psychology of peak performance in sport. We heard it last week from age group dominator Mary Knott, who I've had the pleasure of working with one-on-one this year. And it's really the missing piece for so many athletes and for so many training regimens that are out there. Antoine is cued in and he is working on his attention to now. He is a vegan professional triathlete with a goal to win an Ironman while promoting a healthy and compassionate lifestyle. At just 24 years old, he's off to a strong start to his professional career, and he believes that eating a plant-based diet has helped him train and race at the highest level. We met Antoine through Instagram, and we were honored to be on his podcast, the JD podcast, earlier this year. If you haven't checked it out, there's a link to it in the show notes for this episode, and we go deep. It's definitely one of my favorite interviews with us on the receiving end of the questions. So that's it, peeps. Let's dive into another Ironman smackdown of sorts with vegan professional triathlete Antoine Desroches.
Welcome to the Yogi Triathlete podcast.
Thanks for having me.
And congratulations. Amazing, amazing effort yesterday. 4th place?
Yeah, that was insane. Like, I didn't think it was possible. Like, compared to last year, the field this year was super stacked. So I didn't think about like placing or anything. I was just thinking about one, finishing, but also just doing my own race. So to be in 4th was just like out of the moon. Yeah.
Why weren't you thinking you could, like, what was pulling you away from achieving this goal? Like, did you have thoughts that you could win?
To be honest, I was only thinking about wanting to do the swim, on the bike, and on the run. And I could be 10th or I could be 2nd. Like, it wouldn't matter. I would be happy with my race. So with my coach, we were actually thinking that 8:45 would be a great time. But at 8:40, like, my coach was like, 8:45 would be great. But in my mind, I was like, well, 8:40 would be better. So when I didn't know my time when I crossed the line. So I saw it was 8:28. So I was like, wow. Because the last few Ks on the run was so painful. I thought that my time was going to be super slow. So I was pretty surprised to see the time. Yeah.
Do you have a watch? Were you checking time or?
I only used the watch for the run.
Yeah.
And I didn't even check it on the bike because actually it was always stopping and restarting. Because when I was putting my Gatorade bottle on my GPS, it was always touching the stop button. So then I just stopped looking at my time. And on the run, I started looking at my time for the first like maybe 20, 30K. But then when I started fading, I was like, okay, no, I don't care about the time anymore. So I didn't look at it. So I thought my running time was going to be super slow. And then I was like, wow, I didn't expect that. Yeah.
What did you end up doing on the run?
I did 2:58, which was the goal I wanted to do under 3. And that's my first marathon ever. Like, I never did a marathon outside of Ironman, outside of triathlon. So it's my like longest run ever.
Is that your first Ironman?
It's my first Ironman and first marathon and like first.
Oh my god! So you and Cody are in company because it was his first.
But actually, it's my first one that I finished. Last year I did it.
Yeah.
And I went up in the med tent. I was completely like almost like unconscious. So that was my revenge on the distance.
Wow. So your first completed Ironman, you ran a 2:58. You swam a 50, right? 50 minutes?
Yeah, 50-10, yeah.
Yeah. First out of the water with Lauren Brandon on your tail. And then would you bike?
Bike was 4:34, 4:35.
And is that pretty typical for your time?
The goal was to do 4:45. So like my coach, I have a new coach since last year and he's a lot more like maybe scientific. So we like calculate everything. So I weighed myself with my bike and I was like in my bathroom with my bike, my helmet, my shoes to weight myself with all my gels on my bike to know what was my weight with the bike and all my equipment and like with the width of my tires and everything, just to know and to calculate how much watts I need to push to do a 4:45. So the goal was 4:45. I think I needed to do 260 normalized power, and I think 4:40 would be like 250 maybe. But then I started, and it was like, you need to really be patient on the bike. Don't go too fast. But then as I started, I was like, okay, I'm way too fast already, but I feel really good. So I'm not gonna listen to what he said. I'm gonna continue to go fast, and actually was able to keep up my watts for the bike, which was surprising because in my mind I was like, maybe it's a bad idea. I should listen and go slower, but.
So where does that come from? So you have a coach, right? You have a coach, and you have experience in triathlon. How many years have you been racing triathlon?
Maybe 8-9 years.
Okay. Yeah. So you have these two, like you've got experience, you've got a new coach, you've got experience racing. How do you draw within, right? How do you know? You have the moments of doubt. You're like, maybe I'm going too hard. I need to chill. But then you flip the switch and you're like, I need to go because I'm feeling it in the moment. Like, how do you make that determination? And then that's question one. And is there a constant battle of like, oh my God, did I do the right thing? Did I not do the right thing? Or do you just make the decision and go all in?
Yeah, actually, like the day before the race, I was talking to my coach on the phone, and he wanted me to take it a bit easier on the swim, but my strength in the swim, and I just like to swim fast, and that's swimming is like what I pretty much like the most. Like I just like swimming, and for me to go slow on the swim to conserve energy for the rest of the triathlon, I feel like it's not me. I want to go as fast as possible. So, and there's like saying, it's like you need to train your weakness, but you race with your strength. And that's what like Lauren Brennan does. Like she swims as fast as possible because she knows that's when she can take time out of her competitors. And for me, just racing at home, like when I went out of the water and I saw all the people, the spectators, that's just like some extra motivation. So it's like, if I'm alone out of the swim like that, the spectators are gonna be crazy. So it's mentally it's a lot better. Maybe like physically it's not the best situation. Like maybe it's better to conserve energy on the swim and on the bike to be able to run a fast marathon. But sometimes like even it's the best decision physically, sometimes you race with your heart at the same time. If I'm not stoked about the race, like okay, I'm gonna take it easy on the swim, take it super easy on the bike, and so that maybe I can run a fast marathon. It's not like there's nothing exciting about that. So I was like, okay, I'm gonna go fast on the swim, try to go fast on the bike, and try to go fast on the run. That's a triathlon. Like it's racing. So
that's racing.
Yeah.
Right. That is truly racing.
Yeah.
I think a lot of people, and I'm guilty of this too, get into this safe zone where you're like, I've done the fitness. Yeah. This is a big event. I've invested a lot. You know, my family's behind me, whatever the circumstances, and you play it safe.
Yeah.
Like you're like, okay, these are the paces I need to hit. But what I like is you continually tap into like what you're feeling on the swim.
Yeah.
Then you tap into what you're feeling on the bike. Like going to the future is not going to do you any good.
Yeah.
Like you're just going to be obsessed with that when you're doing the other previous two activities.
I think what I try to do is that maybe last year I was trying to remove on my mind that I still have a marathon to do. But now I think I was a bit smarter. So I wasn't thinking about a marathon, but I was aware that I still had to run 42 kilometers. So there's that. So I'm not doing the bike. I'm not thinking about that the fight I need to run, but I'm still aware of it. So I still know that I need to do that, but I'm not thinking about I'm thinking about the fact that I need to swim right now or I need to bike right now. I'm not thinking the fact that I still need to do 42 kilometers, but I'm still more maybe without being conservative. I'm still aware that it's a long day, and my mantra for the race was be patient. So I was thinking about it on the bike. Even though I was racing, I was still thinking, like when Cody Bills passed me on the bike on La Concepcion, which is one of the hills of the race. I knew that I had these specific watts that I couldn't push higher. Like every time I was pushing higher on the hills, I was burning like matches. So I knew that maybe like before, like a few years ago, I would have gone with him and probably burned too many matches and burn on the run like I did last year. So I was racing, but I was being maybe more aware of the fact that it's Ironman, and I have a lot more respect for the race since the race I had last year. Like I wasn't able to finish, and after the race I was super emotional. Like I saw all the finishers and I was staying until midnight to see the last finisher, and it was super. I was sad that I DNF. Like, so one of the goals was to finish. Like no matter what, I wanted to finish. So that's why I said be patient, but do your race and have fun, because you need to have fun. You need to race and you need to go all in. And if I need to walk the last 10K, I'm gonna walk the last 10K because I want to be an Ironman. I don't want to be left like last year all winter thinking about why did I blow out on the run and collapse. Like, don't make the same mistakes again. Yeah.
So what was it like being out there with Lionel and Cody Beals?
Yeah, I raised those two guys like so much in the last.
They're both Canadian.
Yeah.
So I'm sure you guys all race in a circuit or
Yeah.
have seen each other show up at local races. So yeah, what is that like? Like, because the media portrays Lionel as this beast,
Yeah.
right?
Which he is.
Which he is. I don't know if you saw his video this morning though that he put out. Yeah. Seems like he was a little lightweight, and I think he's been eating plant-based.
Yeah, I think so. Yeah.
I've seen signs of it from the cookbook that he's using.
Yeah, and he's eating like 10 and stuff.
Yeah, you're right.
That's cool.
Actually, I reached out to him and said, hey, you got to buy our cookbook. You got to check this thing out. And then Cody, this is his first Ironman too.
Yeah.
But it sounds like he had an amazing race. So you knew who the players were for the race yesterday.
Yeah, they're both like super great athletes, and they're both super different on the way they train and race. I feel like Sanders really races with his art, and he trains also with his art. Like he's gonna be super aggressive, and like when you see him screaming while biking on the trainer, and like all these crazy workouts he does. And sometimes he misses. Like sometimes he's got maybe a bit ego, and like he knows what he needs to do, and his goal was like, I need to be as fit as possible, as lean as possible, and maybe it didn't work out. But he could have done like a sub 8 maybe if it didn't work out. So I think that's what I like about him. Like at Kona, he just went all in, and he got past at the last 5K, but he was there to fight, and like I never saw someone like hurt that much on a race, and that's what I like about him. Like he goes 110%, even though a lot of time he's winning, but a lot of time he's just gonna go all in, and that shows the respect he has for competitors and for the race. And Cody is a lot more like maybe he thinks a little bit more about his training. He's super I feel like super methodical. So, and the way he thinks about his equipment and stuff like that. So every time I have a question before a race, I'm like, okay, should I use those wheels, or which width of tires should I use? I always talk to him because he knows so much stuff. Like I think he has a background in like engineer.
I was gonna say engineering, because those guys know their numbers. They know their
stuff. They like spreadsheet and stuff like that. So so I knew like he was gonna dial in everything, like his nutrition, like everything was super calculated. Like his aero position is, I don't think there's that many people who have a better position as him, and everything is super like perfect. That's why I think his preparation must have been like really great for the last 2 months, because it was like the plan was there and he just executed, and that's what he did on the day. And I was super happy for him because I've raced with him like so many times, and like everyone, he had some disappointing races. I think last fall, and then he went back by winning like a race in China or Asia in spring, and then had a few great races. And then like you said, I think before the race, it's a big commitment to go from 70.3 to Ironman, and he didn't race for like almost 3 months just to prepare for this race. And when you're making a living from the sport, to not race for 3 months to prepare, so you're not getting any money from anyone, that's a big commitment. But like now he got the big payday, and like he got the race he was hoping for, or maybe he didn't believe he could actually do that. But like 8:10 fast run course, record of everything, and even on the bike he had the record. So that's just an amazing performance.
So when you see stuff like that, when you see athletes like Lionel and Cody, can you take stuff from them? To make your stew, to make your sauce of how you prepare, do you take things from them, bits and pieces, or do you sort of like shut that out? And like,
no, I think it's good to take stuff from everyone, or also I like to take stuff from different sports too, because I think we can learn from every athlete, whether sport it is. And sometimes it's like with the Brownie brothers. Before, we thought they were like unbeatable, so everyone was like, well, we're gonna fight for third place. And then there's Cody Bills, who's like, well, the same thing with Sanders. Like every time he's on the start line, people are usually thinking about second place and third place. But Cody Bills is just like, okay, I'm gonna do my own race, and maybe I'm gonna beat him. And it shows that everyone is beatable. And I felt like I was maybe connecting more to Cody Bills. Like I feel like I was maybe closer in my ability to him than to Sanders, because I always see him as like a machine, like someone you can't beat. So when you see Cody Bills, who's super young athlete starting in the sport in Ironman, who's able to beat big names like Sanders and Matt Russell, it shows that I can do it one day,
Yeah, so you just need that little bit of belief. Right? Like you have belief, but you like to see signs. Like athletes, we like to see signs. We like to see a workout session that was completed and we get to see like our watts, like, okay, I've done that, or I've gone to a race and I've placed, like I can compete with these guys. We all need to see that stuff. But a lot of times in all of your training and triathletes training leading up, it takes a little bit of faith, right?
Yeah.
It takes a little bit of faith. And I think we were talking about it before with Eric Lagerstrom, how he just, he did one run or two runs actually off the Alter G and went out and won Lake Stevens.
Yeah.
So it just shows like you got to have some faith and belief in yourself. Like you're not always going to see the signs, but you just have to be dialed into like your own power, your own authentic swing is the new thing I've been thinking about. But it's your own version of something. And when I've been thinking about racing myself, being a creative person in web design and just with, you know, the whole creative space, I'm starting to feel like races are my creation.
Yeah.
Like I start it with the swim and it may go this way or it may go that way. So it's like you're doing a painting, like, and it's all personal to you. Do you feel you have this, well, we just talked about it, your belief, but do you have this drive inside that knows that you belong at the top? Or like, what do you feel? Like, what is it? What is the knowing inside?
Yeah, I think so. That's why, like, maybe, like, the first few races, my first pro race year, I was, like, leading on the swim, and, like, until, like, maybe, I think it was 30 or 40K on the bike. You know, I was thinking, like, well, I can race with them, compete with them for a podium, no matter what level I am. And so from the get-go, even though my fitness level was subpar from, like, all these other great athletes, I was still thinking about, like, maybe it's naivete, but in a way, it's also in a way that it's a belief that I can compete at that level. And sometimes it doesn't go well because I'm thinking I can stay with Lionel for the bike, which is sometimes a wrong idea. But sometimes it pays off. Like today, I was able to do the race I never dreamt of doing probably. So I think it's part of like believing in yourself, and it's part of naivete that you can do something that I haven't been able to do in training or ever, you know? It's like, because the goal was like for the watts, I don't really like to look at my watts. I'm not like a super analytical guy, but like the goal was to do maybe 260 normalized power. And for the first part until like maybe 50, 60K, I was like 310 normalized power. So I was like, and I was thinking, and my coach, my ear, like, maybe it's too fast. And I was like, okay, yeah, maybe that's true. And I think I finished at like 290 normalized power, which is a lot more than what I was planning to. And so sometimes it's like, you never know what's going to happen. But it's always good to not care about those numbers, you know?
Yeah, they're just number. Like when it comes down to it, it's just a number.
Yeah.
It doesn't say like what's inside, and it doesn't take in your fitness, the community, the energy of like just all of these factors are much more than a number. So I think it's good to use as another data point.
Yeah. And you can learn about yourself after that, you know? It's like, then after I know what are my numbers now, so I can train with those numbers. But like, it's weird because like, I've done like super long training workouts, and there's no way I could have done like even 3 hours at 290, you know? But then because it's race day and because there's like competitors and spectators and I'm racing at home, now I'm able to do it. That's like, you know, that's why you don't think about what are your parameters, what are your trainings, or what training peaks, or what negative split cycling, all the stuff that are telling you, okay, you're supposed to do 445, you know, because that's your numbers you've been doing on training. But even though that's what you're supposed to do, you can always go faster than that, because that's when you start like racing with your art.
Yeah.
And just not care about all those stuff. Because like, if we were racing with all those numbers, it's like we already know who's gonna win, you know? It's like we don't need to race. It's like, okay, he's 2 minutes slower on the bike, he's 5 minutes faster on the run, and he's 2 minutes faster on the run, so he's winning.
We don't need to race.
Oh, yeah.
So just it's done. Just give him the medal or whatever.
This is why like I used to race cross country skiing, and cross country it's not like running. Running we will always look at our time, and biking we always look at our power meter. But skiing is just you ski until like you puke at the finish line. You know, it's like there's no data at all, and that's what I miss about like cross country skiing is just because like there's no limitation that you put yourself to. You know, it's like I can beat that guy because I don't know his number, but just because I know that Sanders' number is maybe 350 watts, I'm not gonna try to follow him. So I think sometimes it's just good to stop caring about all those stuff. Yeah.
Yeah.
Especially on racing day, like
Yes.
Sebastian Killy doesn't. I think maybe he uses that power meter for his coach to analyze after, but he doesn't look at his watts at all during race because it's a race. It's not a time trial. It's not a training. It's not a test. It's a race. So,
This is it. This is the day. This is what you've been training for. So why not give everything you have on training day? That's why you prepare.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And there's a guy I really like to follow is Jim Walsley. He's an ultra runner.
Yes.
Yeah.
Yeah. He won the.
He won
Western States.
Yeah. And the first 2 times, like the first time he actually got lost, but he had like maybe a 1 hour or 2 hour lead on the other competitors. He was setting a course record, and the other time he also had like a crazy lead and he blew out. And then he goes and he win. And he's like, after the race, after the first time he blew out, he was, well, you don't remember the miss from like the baseball players. You only remember the home run, you know? So it's like he doesn't care, like you're gonna miss a lot of time, but if you're able to do a big home run, that's what really matters, you know? So sometimes you just need to go. Maybe you're gonna miss, but maybe you're gonna have a home run, man.
Well, that comes from fear of failure, right? It comes from being scared that you may not accomplish your goal, and then thinking about what everybody else is gonna look at you, right? They're gonna look at you and say, well, no, he can't do that. He didn't do it last time. So it's that knowing inside that keep going. Like Jim Walmsley just keeps going.
Yeah.
He just keeps going and going and going, and he's quite. He goes after his races. Yeah, there's no holding back. So he makes that switch of not worrying about failure.
Yeah.
Right. And it sounds like you did the same thing on race day, not worrying about going too hard you were committed. Just go on the bike and we'll deal with the run when we get to the run.
Yeah.
Yeah. And I think it's a confidence thing, but it's also a belief in a big, strong belief in yourself.
Yeah. I always thought it was more like maybe being stupid or being naive, but
we can look at it differently.
there's part of it. Maybe like 90% is being naive and stuff, but there's at least like a 10-20% that's big belief that I can do it like and have a good race.
Yeah.
But it was like after the Ironman last year, it was super hard. Like, you know, you start doubting yourself that you can't finish an Ironman, and with all the winter, it was like for sure it was motivating because like when you have a bad race, you're stoked about training and getting faster, but you're still like disappointing about your race, and you start sometimes doubting yourself. And with all this summer I had, like I crashed my first race, injured my hip, and all summer I was injured with my hip, couldn't run. Like I was still running maybe 90, 100K per week, but I had crazy pain that after the run, even though I did like a 30K run, I was limping just to get to my car and stuff like that. So after all like that summer, to finally be able to have a good race, it's so much like doesn't get any better for your belief in yourself. Because sometimes you start doubting yourself when you have like low patches, and it's like in racing you have lots of low patches, but in life also sometimes you have like dark moment when everything is going bad, and you're like, I was thinking like maybe maybe triathlon is not for me, you know, or maybe like sport is not for me. So even like to race before the race, I was like, well, maybe I should give open water swimming a try. You know, there's no impact. I can't get injured. Or maybe like, I don't know, maybe I'm not fit for that. I'm not good enough. And even the week before the race, like I wasn't sure I was going to be able to race. And you need to stop thinking about it. That's when I, like the Wednesday before the race, as I did like just a 20-minute run in the treadmill, and my pain like level was like 8 out of 10, and was super painful. And then I tried to bike, and it was even painful on the bike, which never happened before. So I called like my doctor, I called my coach. I was like, how can I do that? And my coach was like, well, call me tomorrow. Let's see how it goes. So that was the Wednesday, and we'll see. We'll just go day by day. And in the race, you just go kilometer by kilometer, or if it's a kilometer is too long, you just go step by step, and you do this thing. There's no point in like worrying about whether I'm able to do it or not.
Right.
You just do it. So
that's just wasted energy. That's just wasted energy.
Yeah.
So this is so important, and it's really good for athletes out there to understand it's not an all or nothing thing. Like, you take one day at a time. Okay, you have some sensation in your hip. You have some sensation when you're running and biking. Okay, then Thursday comes. Okay, some sensation. Friday comes. Saturday you go. Friday you register. Saturday you jump off. Like, you just keep taking the next step. Sunday you show up. You do the swim. See how you feel on the swim. Get out of the swim and get to the bike. Now you're on the bike. See how you feel on the bike. Right? It's not. You're not going to make the decision on Wednesday that you're not going to race Ironman.
Yeah.
Because what happens if Friday or Saturday you begin to feel great? So that's. And we've talked about this when we were on your podcast. Yeah. It's that present moment awareness. It's bringing all of your faculties, all of your energy to the moment, because that's truly the only thing that exists. So if you're worried about the future, right, worrying about the Ironman, or you're looking to the past of like that crash I had or the terrible winter I had when I probably was at my lowest, like, you can't worry about those things because they're just taking this energy away from you. We want to give 100% of ourselves, our focus and awareness to the moment. So it's important for athletes out there to just keep taking the next step, right? And then when you take the next step and you have questions, ask the question, get an answer, and then move on. Don't dwell in the what ifs, right? Yeah. So you acted, you called your coach, you called your doctor, right? Stop worrying, act, right? Act. So now you talk to your doctor, great. Now you talk to your coach, okay, now we just go to tomorrow. And I think that grounding and present moment focus is missing in the sports world. I think there's a lot of going into the future and the what ifs and the fear of failure. And we can do a lot better in our performances, I believe, if we just kept coming back to the moment. My mantra yesterday and the last Ironman was focus and flow. So every time my awareness would shift, I'd come back to just focus. And I'd get dialed in on, especially on the bike, I'd get dialed in on the road about 4 or 5 feet in front of me. And then lift my head. Like, stay focused. And then flow is flow. So stop trying to
think about too much stuff.
Yes. Like, oh, there's a group of people drafting up there. Okay, how am I going to handle this? Don't worry about that. You just keep biking. Then when you approach them, you make the decision. You go around them or you back off. Like, you just make the decision in the moment. And I felt like my energy coming back because it was just sucking the life out of me. And
the longer the race, the harder it is to be focused because you're racing for like 8-9 hours or more.
Right.
So it's like before I was doing like IT racing, and it's like there's like 30 people around you. There's like a chance of crashing like happening all the time. So of course you're gonna be in the moment because you need to be there. But like when you're on the bike, you're like at 120K. There's not that much stuff happening. You're there. You've already been riding for like 2 or more hours. Like, so it's easy to start thinking about other stuff like what I'm gonna eat after that, or like just like worrying about stuff too, like worrying about your watts, worrying about how you're feeling, about your competitors, or about so much stuff and a lot of stuff that you can control too. So
how do you practice present moment awareness? How do you ground yourself in the moment, or how do you practice working on moving away from all those distractions and bringing it to the now? How do you personally do that?
Yeah, I try to practice during the trainings. So like it's my first real Ironman, so I'm not used to do all those really long runs and stuff like that. So one of my tips I used to do is on the run, if I have like maybe a 35K run, it's hard to motivate yourself to go to run 35K, right? So I was thinking taking split at each 10 kilometers. So I was only thinking about the next few kilometers to hit the 10K marks. And then I was looking at my split. I was like, okay, that's a good split. Now the next 10 kilometers. And sometimes when I was having a bad day, I was looking at every 5 kilometers or less. So I think you really need to divide the time and just thinking about the next few steps. Especially like when you have like a 2 loops course like here. When you're not even done with your first lap and you're hurting, it's so hard to tell yourself that, okay, I can still do another lap. And at like maybe 15K, I was already hurting a lot. And I was like, there's no way I can continue at that pace. But you're just like, well, I know my friend is there in like 2 kilometers. I'm going to see him. He's going to cheer me up. And now there's a downhill after that, so I can rest a little bit. And then there's the one hill, but there's another guy I know down there. And stuff like that. And then there's the aid station with the Coke. And then I know I'm going to get the Coke. Or just tiny stuff like that. And I feel like the harder the race goes, the tiny steps, like I make tiny objectives, like tiny goals. So
as the race goes on, it's smaller and smaller goals.
Smaller and smaller, yeah.
Yeah.
Like even like at 41K, I was hurting so much. Like,
oh, that's before the big hill.
Yeah, like I was like, okay, that's the last time I'm gonna do that hill, so I'm gonna go all in. So I was like running and screaming like, and then I'm like, okay, now I can enjoy the downhill even though my quads were burning. And then, okay, that's the last time I'm gonna climb the hill to the hotel, and then it's done.
Then it's done. You're
and
on the cobblestones.
The spectators are gonna just carry me to the finish. So you just go. So like maybe at the beginning of the race, I'm feeling great, so I'm just gonna have like goals that are like 10 kilometers long. But as the race goes longer, it's goals that are like maybe 100 meter, then 50 meter, because you're eating so much that it's hard to think about doing 100 meter of running. So you're just thinking about 50 meters of running. And when 50 meters start being too hard, you just think about the next step. So like, okay, next step I won't walk. I just do another step of running. And like I was just thinking, don't walk, never walk. So I didn't care about my pace, because then my only goal was not walking on the hill, and the downhill was like easy part.
Did you walk at all? Well, to do a 258, you probably didn't walk at all in the aid stations either.
No, the only one time I had to pee, because on the bike, which is a good sign, I was like happy with myself, because usually I'm super dehydrated. I don't drink enough and don't eat enough. And that's the first time that on the bike, my nutrition strategy was pretty much perfect. So on the bike, just before eating Duplessis on the second lap, I was like, oh, I really need to pee. So I was happy, but I still think, am I able to pee on the bike?
Yeah.
So I was trying, I wasn't able to. And I didn't try on the run. I was trying to be like super zen and everything. And it started, like, I almost felt like it was going to start, but it didn't happen, so I just stopped.
You need to practice that.
Yeah, that's something I need to do. Maybe not on my treadmill, because that would be a
yeah,
bad
don't do it on the
idea.
treadmill.
And maybe not when there's too many people around, but that's something I think I need to start.
Yeah, that's a skill.
Yeah.
I think the standard is at least pee at least 2 times on the bike.
Okay,
would
yeah.
be good. I definitely got 2 pees in on the bike. Just I dropped my left leg down, so I'm standing on the pedal on the downhill, and just let it unleash, and my shoe is soaked. But I've stopped stopping at the Porta Johns because I can do it on the run too.
Yeah.
Like I just gotta relax. So yeah, getting zen. That's all it is. It's just like getting relaxed, but still moving forward. And then one time I stopped at an aid station to pour water on my head, and I'm like, I'm just gonna go right here. So I just went right there, standing in my suit, and just flushed out. So I was actually really hydrated. So did you go to the bathroom? You went to the bathroom once on the
once, and I saw my pee was like orange or like even darker.
Oh yeah, like, you need some.
At least I peed, which is where like I never peed usually.
Yeah.
So at least it's better than nothing. Like at least it's not like black like coffee. So it's really a good step. So I knew that it's really hard to drink enough on a run. Like the cups are so tiny, and sometimes like there was one station they give me like a tiny bottle. I was so happy. Like I was like,
oh yeah, the actual bottle of water. Yeah, that was good. I think there was one aid station where I got 2 or 3 cups, and it was like half an inch of water in them.
No.
Yeah, but then the Coke was filled up to the top, and I'm like, I don't need that much Coke. And then I looked in the trash, and there were like tons of Cokes in there that were still filled, or Pepsi.
Yeah, it's like with Frodeno, I think in Kona, I think the
the
volunteer gave like a 2 liter of Coke. Yeah. So I guess when you're Sanders or Ferdinand, you can do that now.
Not when you're Canadian 4th place finisher.
No.
All right, we've been talking a lot about the race. Let's talk a little about nutrition. So you're plant-based.
Yeah.
You've been plant-based for how long?
I think now it's gonna be 5 years and no meat for 8 or 9 years. Yeah.
Okay. And how did you make that transition? Like, was there a specific event?
So like 8 or 9 years, I was like getting ready for a World Cup and ITU race, which is the biggest race I've done in ITU. So that was like, I had nothing to do. I was in my hotel just looking at Twitter. And a friend of mine just posted a video, like a 30-second video on Twitter about like animal cruelty. And I just looked like a few seconds of it and I was like, okay, I'm done. I'm going to stop eating meat. Which is weird because like usually we see, it's not the first time, probably not the first time that I saw videos showing animals being killed or stuff like that. Or I knew that like the poultry I was eating or the beef I was eating was an animal before, but like sometimes you just need something you see and you click. And sometimes maybe there was a seed that was planted in my mind. Like I think I read Scott Jurek book before and Finding Ultra from Ritual before. So maybe the seed was already planted. And then when I saw the video, I was like, okay, I'm done. So I stopped eating like thing with legs, so like beef and pigs. But I was still eating fish for a while, so I was like pescatarian for a while. But then I saw Cowspiracy. I think in the video they also show like how they kill the tuna. And the tuna are like so huge, they're almost like the size of a human. And where there's like so much blood. So because a lot of the time you think like, oh, fishing is lovely sport that you do. But like the fish is like looking for air like on the boat and he's crying and everything. Like they still have like emotion like other animals, but also the fact that I saw the blood and like made me realize like it's not different than a pig, it's not different than a beef. And in a way it's not different than our dog or than ours, you know, it's an animal, it's a human being. So, and Cowspiracy was like huge movie for me. Like the environmental aspect was huge. So like the first reason was ethical, but then environmental like took the biggest part. I think when I learned about this, because that was relatively new when they showed the movie for the first time, and like no newspaper were talking about it, or if then like the media was not like really big on it. And then after that, like all the newspaper everywhere were talking about it, and that was huge for veganism in general, because a lot of people like maybe don't care that much about the animal, but they care a lot about the planet, they care about the forest, everything. So if you got something you care about, it doesn't matter like if you're doing it for the health or for the planet or for yourself. It just matters that you made the choice of like killing less animals. So yeah, the movie Cowspiracy was big for me.
So it's been 8 years? 8 years now?
8 years of like no meat, yeah.
And how long have you been doing triathlon? 8 years?
I think 8 years.
Okay.
So maybe maybe 6 years then stop eating meat, but 4 or 5 years for being vegan, yeah.
Okay. And you feel fine?
Of course, yeah. Of course, like the first few times, like I always make this like my health, my big decision before a race. Like the day I decided to go vegan was only a few days before going to a race, Timberman. And then
we love that race.
Yeah,
that was
really
a good
nice,
race.
Yeah. Like I didn't know what to eat because like it was my first time being vegan. I decided like the day before the race or like a few days before the race what I'm gonna eat. So like sitting at the dinner and there's like Rachel Joyce who's eating like big omelet with eggs. I'm like, what am I gonna eat? So just like, can you do that without the eggs? Or like, can you just do a sandwich without just vegetables? And like, I guess we can. So like, okay, it's not that complicated. And then now it's like there's so much information about what to do. But I feel like even just 4 or 5 years ago, it was a lot different. And like, I can't believe like someone was vegan or plant-based like 6 years ago or longer than that. That's just, it's completely like there's so much more information, but also so much more new food that are vegan, which is great. Like, but there's also a lot of junk food vegan
Absolutely, there's junk food.
There's so much.
But I think it comes from confusion. So when you talk about plant-based options, in the grand scheme of things, you just need to eat like you're poor, like beans, rice, and vegetables. I think what's happened is just all this media coverage and of the next great diet or the keto diet or whatever it is. It's causing confusion for a lot of people. And if we had just stuck with the basics, right? Just basics.
Yeah.
You instinctually knew, can you just have vegetables on a piece of bread? Like that didn't harm anything. And I think it's important that to understand that you've navigated your way. Like you had that spark, right? You had the spark from watching the movie, but then you navigated your way. You probably asked around, well, what did you do? So how did you find the foods for both your daily life and for training?
Actually, before I saw the movie, or it's all like buried in my mind, but I tried to go vegan like a few months before that. And I think it went like, I didn't know what to do. And I was starting to do like, maybe was going like overboard, like just trying to eat raw as possible. Or like I remember one time I tried to do like, it was a vegan tofu feta, and it really tasted bad. And I was like, okay, maybe it's not going well for my like, because I wasn't eating that much because I didn't know what to eat. And then like, I'm just gonna go back to being like vegetarian and still eat stuff. But then when I actually saw the movie, that's when I was okay, I need to figure this thing out. I need to take action, find recipes, and there are like so much recipes. Like I'm a big fan of like minimalist baker on internet, which is like super simple recipe, like a few ingredients, and it's almost like similar to like the now moment, like in a race. It's like the now moment in your diet is like, well, my next meal is my breakfast, so I'm gonna figure out my breakfast and not think about my supper right now. Like for the first thing, I was like, okay, well, breakfast is pretty simple. Like pretty much already eat vegan for breakfast. Either it's like cereals with soya milk or toast, like just bread, or oatmeal. Like I feel like if someone wants to start being vegan, just start with the breakfast, and then go your way to the supper, which is for some people maybe a bit more complicated, or sometimes you're like eating with family, so it's like, oh, I need to explain during all the supper why I'm vegan and stuff like that. But like start with the supper, start with the breakfast, then add the snacks, which are super easy, like just vegetables, fruit, hummus, avocado, and then start with the continue with the dinner, which is also a lot easier because we usually eat on the go, eat at your work, at your university. So it's just easy to bring a sandwich, bring a salad, bring quinoa salad and stuff like that. And then when you're getting used to it, go to the supper, and maybe your family is having like a big salad with oven baked potato and chicken, and just switch the chicken for some beans with guacamole or other stuff like that. So you just switch the protein. So you're just trying to find simple solution. Don't need to change everything and like, okay, I'm going vegan, so now all my family, all my friends need to go vegan right now because I've made that decision. So you just like, it's always about the simple decision that you can make.
Yeah, I think it's the all or nothing, right? Yeah. And what does that do? It sets you up for failure, like 99% of the time. What you need to do, is just make small changes and just be aware of the foods that you're eating. Like just look at the array of foods that you're eating. And also it's the awareness of how do you feel?
Yeah.
Like are these foods that you're eating, can you even like feel how this food is entering your body? Because what you eat becomes you.
Yeah.
Right? So all this good stuff is inside, or the stuff that you've been eating and you've always felt bad, will it start to question like what you're putting in your body. And I think for athletes, it's especially challenging navigating the high performance, because you guys are balancing like countless hours of training and burning calories after calories and finding the right solution, because there is no like one book of like, this is what triathlete
Yeah, no.
should eat. Although we do have the Yogi Triathlete Cookbook, high vibe recipes for the athlete appetite, which gets you started. So, so do you get that question a lot? So you're in the realm of the professional triathlon world. Like, do you get any inquiries? Are people curious about what you're eating? Because obviously you're wearing a shirt that says this is what.
I decided to wear it on the
This is what a vegan powered athlete looks like.
Yeah, first of course, like there's always a question about like protein, iron, or all those stuff. Like maybe like also like coaches or just training partners. But after a while, like especially like I'm studying nutrition, I have some knowledge about nutrition, and I started going like my training are going well. Like my coach is happy if my training are going well, right? So it's like, well, it's going well, it's training well, it's feeling good. And then when I'm training with other people and like I'm smashing the workouts, like going fast on the hills or anything, they see that it's working, so they're not gonna doubt that the diet isn't working. And then actually it's the opposite, because I don't talk that much about like being vegan with other people, but usually they know. So they're like, oh, you're going very well, and like you're crushing these 6 hours ride and stuff like that. Like, what are you eating actually, like in the morning? Like, because I've been thinking of going vegan, but I don't know, it looks so complicated. And then I just say like simply, well, I just eat like just a normal breakfast, oatmeal with like almond butter, banana. It's not that complicated. And then I just talk about like what I eat during the training rides or mid-dinner. I just give like just simple recipes and stuff like that. So I'm not talking about, oh, you're doing it wrong. You're eating meat, you're killing animals, you know? So I'm just talking about the positive aspect of like what I'm doing. And I feel like it sticks a lot better with the people when they make their own decision, right?
Absolutely,
so if the people see that you're vegan and you're competing and you're doing well, then they're gonna ask you questions, start getting interested, or maybe you're just planting a seed in someone's head, like maybe a few books that I read did. So like maybe like when I was on podium, they saw, oh, this is what a vegan looks like. Maybe they're not gonna go vegan right away, but they're like, oh, he's still able to compete. He's not. He still has muscle. He's still able to do an Ironman.
He's not weak. He's not like falling off the podium.
He's not dead. Why? I thought you had to eat beef to survive. So maybe there's a tiny seed that was planted, and then he's gonna start reading about it, watch Conspiracy or other movie like that, and then he's gonna start to make a switch. And I don't think you need to make a big switch and like go cold turkey. Like I did, I went like almost like one animal at a time, you know. So, or you can go either like start cutting a few meats, or you can just start eating more plants, and then the plants start crowding out the plate. So there's a nice podcast I like. It's a TFF Lifestyle. I don't know if you know.
No, I don't.
It's a Thought for Food Lifestyle. They're two guys from Boulder, and they created this like community around their podcast and everything. And their logo is just more. It's eat plants, do epic shit. And it's just they're not like stop eating meat and do cool stuff. It's just eat more plants. We don't care if you still eat fish on the Friday. You're eating lots of plants. You're just every time you decide to not take the steak option in the restaurant and take the salad or the other stuff, it's a good thing for the planet, for the animals. So it doesn't matter if you're 90% vegan, 80% vegan, or if you're just doing meatless Friday right now, you're doing something great. I feel like a lot of people try to accuse someone when they're like, oh, I'm trying to go vegan, but now I'm just vegetarian. And then the vegan is gonna be like, well, you know that cow's milk is really bad, and that fish is gonna and that cheese is gonna kill you. So that then the person is gonna turn back to being a meat eater, not even a vegetarian, because they're like, well, I don't want to hang with those angry vegans.
Right.
So I think you just need to I try to keep like a positive aspect of it, and keep it as simple as possible. Like when I often do like nutrition conferences about like triathlon and nutrition and veganism, and a lot of people are like, oh, I thought it was going to be a lot more complicated than that. They're almost like disappointed, like there's no some magical recipe or magical supplement that I take that makes me go, that makes me super fit. It's just, no, I eat pretty much like you, but instead of eating chicken, I eat beans. And my breakfast and my dinner pretty much the same as you do, you know? So I think we always look forward to the special, like the thing that's gonna, the special recipe, you know? It's like all the thing
The magic pill.
Magic pill that's gonna make you lose 10 pounds and go 10 watts faster.
Right. There is no such thing.
Yeah?
And I think plant-based is, like eating a lot of veggies isn't really sexy. You know, it's not like, I think it is, but for the majority of people, it's tough to comprehend that. And they want the complication. They almost want it to be complicated so that they set themselves up for not following it, right? If it's too simple.
You know, there's all that marketing about the gut milk, like gut chocolate milk.
Yeah.
But it's like broccoli or asparagus don't have all that money for marketing. You know, they could do the same thing with like gut broccoli,
right?
And so people like will try to eat more broccoli and make it super cool, but like all those big companies, like the big meat companies or the big milk companies, they have so much money that they can try to influence the people, but like we're eating super simple stuff that any people with how much money you have, you can still eat. So because it's cheap food, there's not money for marketing. So I guess that what makes it hard for people to be convinced that's the right decision, because they're not brainwashed by the broccoli industry, you know?
Right. But again, it's like tap into how you feel. Like start eating broccoli. Like just start with some stuff and question. I even question now, like maybe I'm having too much broccoli. Like it's always good to like continually question what you're doing and then how you feel.
But I think like related to that, I think we don't need to be 100% perfect, you know? I think we always try to be perfect. And like the first time I tried to go vegan and it didn't work out, I was trying to be perfect and like eat like has like the best Instagram type of vegan diet. You know what we see on Instagram is like, oh well, my oatmeal doesn't look as good as them. Maybe I'm doing it wrong. Or so I should just go back to eating eggs and bacon. Or I would try to go do everything like just so perfectly, and that's when we go back to our old habits. So and especially like we're talking about centers who's maybe switch to a more plant-based diet or completely plant-based diet. And it's also important to remember that you're an athlete. You need fuel too, right?
Yeah.
So it's okay to eat bread, eat rice, eat potato. You know, that's all good food. You need fuel. You need carbs. You know. So I think we forget that vegan diet is not just kale and broccoli, you know?
Right. And he said that, we were talking about his video. Like his video released like 9 hours after the race. It's already up by Talbot.
I think Talbot Cox just never sleeps.
Yeah, he's just constantly going. But he talked about that. So don't look at it at face value. Like, yeah, he's using a plant-based diet. Yes, he came in second yesterday. Yes, he pushed the lowest watts he's ever pushed. But you got to look at the full picture. You got to look at his personality. Like he's a person who tries things. He's trying to fail so that he can find the holes to make him a stronger athlete. And with that comes a little obsession with food for the past 8 weeks. He talks about it and how he cut out carbs maybe and wanted to get down to a fighting weight. And so just don't look at it as plant-based. Like you got to look at each individual unique experience as its own.
Yeah, and I was disappointed because I saw a lot of comments on YouTube or also on the Facebook Live.
Oh, I haven't even seen the comments yet.
It's always a bad idea to look at.
On YouTube especially, yeah.
But like a lot of people were like, oh, why did he change his diet? He needs meat or stuff like, he did the same thing as Frodeno and didn't go well for Frodeno because he stopped eating meat and stuff like that. I'm like, that's not the point. It's not because of that, you know, it's not like causation. It's just like.
Right. Yeah. It's not. You just can't look at, because the people that look at this who are already skeptical of going to plant-based, they're going to see this and just say, yeah, right, I shouldn't go to this, right? But it needs to be, and it all comes to, Antoine, it all comes back to like being mindful and being aware of what's going on, and I just to switch scenarios here. I was standing during that swim yesterday for an hour, right? We were all told that we had to wait an hour, and you could hear the conversations going on and the people resisting,
Started complaining and like
and thinking about cutoff times and people are scared. Like they had expectations and then things changed, and so their mind started to go into the future. So even then, becoming more you're fit. Nothing changes. You're still doing an Ironman, and even if you're not, let's say they cancel the swim, you're still doing an event.
Yeah.
Right. You just take it next step by next step.
And you need to be prepared for anything that could happen. Like I saw a thing on the Yogi Triathlete Facebook. I think Jesse wrote it's delayed. Do you think that BJ brought extra food? like of course, like brought extra food. Probably brought like extra jacket because he knows that if he's gonna wait more time, he needs to stay warm and just relax. So I think like you need to control what you can control. You can't control the uncontrollable, right?
Right.
So if it's delayed, it's uncontrollable. You can't do anything about that. So you can't start like swearing and start like arguing with the officials. You just need, okay, it's 1 hour more. I can relax for 1 hour more and just see the positive in things. But at least you know that it's a possibility. So you prepare yourself that like, okay, I've got a few more bars or a few applesauce that I can eat before the race and an extra jacket or just simple stuff like that you can control. Because every time, like before an Ironman, I think we talk about it on my podcast, so many people worries about the weather or the water temperature, the wind. Like I was like, who cares? You're still gonna race.
Did you train and prepare for the race? Then you should be fine. And if you didn't, now you know what you need to do, right? It's pretty back to simplicity. It's pretty black and white. And I think that's where this whole I was seeing posts about the canceled swim. I think it was not too long ago.
Remember?
Yes. Yeah. I had a friend doing the race and very, very disappointed that they weren't notified beforehand. But you got to realize these races, they're not out to like get us. They're not out to like give us a poor experience. They're out to do what's in the best interest of 2,000 to 3,000 people. Right? They're trying to deliver an experience, and they're going to do the best they can in the safest environment possible.
And like, listen to your podcast with Jim Vance, like Ben Canute's coach, and he talked about the escape from Alcatraz, where the swim was cancelled. And we all know that Ben Canute is one of the best swimmers like in triathlon. So any other people would think like, oh, Ben Canute must be so disappointed that there's no swim. He's gonna be sad and like, oh, his race is ruined because of that. Well, he doesn't care. He's just like, he's racing and maybe in a way like, that's why I need to know that I can be better mentally. Because if the swim was cancelled, of course I would have been like disappointed because I know swimming is my strength. But now I also know that I can run a sub 3 hours marathon, which I never knew I could. So like, okay, I'm not that bad of a runner. I can still have a good race even though it's a duathlon or even though there's no swim. So I think that's why you can always be better and more stronger mentally. That's why it's like your brain is a muscle. You need to work it out, right? And every experience, it's an opportunity to work it out. So like, if the swim was canceled, I was like, well, next time it's gonna be canceled, I will be really prepared because I know I've done it before, so it won't be something new.
Right, and you said it before, treat it as an opportunity.
Yeah.
Like treat these experiences as opportunities to fine tune how your relationship is to all this, to the sport that you love, right? So people are doing this sport. Why do they feel wronged when something's taken away from them, right? It's do the work because you love to do the work, and then you get to celebrate on race day, whatever that day looks like. It may not have a swim, it may have a shortened bike, whatever. It doesn't matter. The thing is that you showed up on race day and you had your experience. And what we like to do is we like to judge it, right? You have these expectations and we want to like judge it, like this is the worst race ever, like. But no, just own it. Like this is an opportunity for me to learn how to do those things on a challenging
also,
day.
like it's also related to perfection. You know, you always want to be perfect. So like, oh, I wanted my first Ironman to be an Ironman with a swim. So that's not gonna be a perfect Ironman. So why bother like racing at all? You know, or like as soon as you're having a bad race on the bike, you're like, well, I'm not gonna have my perfect race. I'm not gonna have a perfect execution. My watts are not gonna be good. So like, why bother race if I'm gonna have like a 80% race, like just subpar of my level. So I think we always want to have the perfect thing,
Right. Perfect doesn't
diet,
exist.
perfect fitness, but no, it's like
Doesn't exist.
even like a preparation for an Ironman, it's never perfect, you know.
Right.
You're always gonna have like tiny niggles, tiny injuries, or maybe you're gonna have a cold a few weeks before the race. You're like, oh, I had a cold two weeks before the race. My preparation is ruined. Why bother racing? You know, so
Yeah.
you're
Yeah.
like you're racing with your body, with what you've done. There's nothing else you can do. So
Yeah, that's all you were given. This is here's your plate. It's served right
Yeah.
in front of you. This is what you have. Use what you got.
yeah, and I started reading the book "The Obstacle Is the Way" from Ryan.
Okay.
It's like,
I haven't read that yet.
but you know Ryan?
No.
Ryan? No, he one of his biggest book is like "Trust Me, I'm Lying." He's like
Okay.
he writes for a lot of magazine and books, and he's like a bestseller author. And the book, and he loves like stoicism, and I especially started reading this book while I was injured to like motivate me and try to find some like belief in myself because I was pretty down. And it just talks about like every obstacle is just an opportunity to grow, you know, and you need to switch it, you know. So it's not just about like being all positive and everything. It's just like you see this obstacle as an opportunity to grow. Like when you're injured, well, I'm gonna improve my swim and my biking, and I'm gonna become a lot stronger in those sports, like Eric Lagerstrom did, you know.
Totally. Yeah, that's a great example.
So you need to switch it. Like, okay, the swimming cancel. That's my obstacle. How can I use that obstacle, but use it in a way that I can be better? So you're like, well, that's a good way. I'm gonna run more than a marathon today. So that's pretty cool.
Right.
Like
Right.
just tiny stuff like that. Like you
Yeah,
need to find a way to make any situation as an opportunity to grow, and that makes you accept more the opportunities, all your obstacles that you're facing, because you know that you can learn from all of those. You know.
And it starts to question your beliefs about yourself. It starts to shed some light onto the things that you always believe, like I can only do a swim, bike, and run, or I can only have a good bike when I've been in a swim. Like you just have these like stories about who you are, and you start to question that. You start to question that story, and then you start to question more, and then you start to wonder like, who the hell am I?
Yeah.
Right?
But in a way, I don't like when I'm questioning myself, but I like when other people are questioning myself. You know, like before the race, the commentator was like, "Oh, you raced last year, didn't finish. you collapsed on the run. Then you raced 70.3 Tremblant, didn't finish also. So you're like, okay, that's nice. That's a good way to start my day. Like a lot of people were like, a few friends were pissed about the spectator to like say something like that just before the race, because a lot of people would be like down just because of that. It wouldn't affect them. But for me, I was like, oh, I'm gonna prove that I'm gonna finish this time, you know, and I'm gonna have a good race. So I like when like people are doubting you, because you've got something
use that
to
as
prove.
fuel.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So that's like maybe the obstacle is that people are downing you. People are telling you you're not gonna be able to do it because you haven't done it before. But I'm using it as a way to perform. I'm using it as a fuel to have a good race, because it's motivation. I'm thinking about them. I'm thinking about like maybe sometimes it's like just tiny stuff. Like I know that sometimes like a few, you know, before Kona, there's always like the contenders and like who's gonna win. But like there's always a few people that are not named, you know. But they're using it as fuel. Like I'm gonna show you that I can actually do it and win. So I think you can use that energy as fuel to become better.
So what do you have on that? Let's talk about what's coming up. So you just finished Mont Tremblant. It's August 20th. So you just finished an Ironman. What's up for the rest of the season? Anything?
Yeah, like we said, being in the now, like I didn't know if I was gonna race, so I took it day by day. So my closest goal was Tremblant, so I didn't think about anything else, because I didn't know if my hip was gonna hold up at all. And now I'm barely able to walk, but I can still walk right now, so that's good. So I know I can do another Ironman. I was thinking maybe Chattanooga, which is September 30, which is a race I just love. I love racing there. It's a like small city. The bike course is amazing. Like the community is cool. But there's also Kentucky, like Louisville. A few
Where is
weeks.
that?
Louisville.
Where is that?
In
Oh,
Kentucky.
Louisville.
Yeah.
Yes. Yeah, I've done that race.
Yeah, I think it's the same day of
Kona.
Kona.
It's Kona Saturday, Louisville Sunday. Yeah.
So I'm thinking of maybe doing that, like either one of those. I know I can drive there, which is good because as a pro triathlete, don't make that much money. So if you can save a flight ticket, that's always a good thing. And I like to race like maybe like smaller local races, even though it's a big event. Like I think it's gonna be a good opportunity to like build with that momentum. Like I've been able to break that series of bad races and bad stuff happening. So now I'm trying to build from that and go like one step higher. So try to go on that momentum, and it's probably gonna be my last race after that of the season. Like 2 Ironmans in a few months is like plenty.
Yeah.
Especially since it's my first Ironman I finished. Yeah, that's gonna be a good way to finish the season.
Awesome. All right. Well, thank you, Antoine. I think that's a good place to end it.
Yeah, thank you for doing this.
Of
It was great to
course.
meet you like in person because like I've been following you guys for a while and like listening to your podcast. And with the podcast, like I know you're in my ears, but like I don't see you. It's nice
I know.
to meet
It's
in
good
person.
it's good to meet. I was brought out here for a reason, and one of those reasons was to have this podcast and this face to face with you, because we've been following you too, and I think plant-based nutrition and endurance sports is just, it's really coming into the forefront, and I think you've got an opportunity as a representative, whether you like it or not, to be up there doing what you're doing, as we discussed, doing what you're doing because you have the capabilities of doing it, not because you're out there telling people they need to change to being plant-based. It's
just slowly planting seed. You know?
Yeah, just slowly
without
planting
talking
seed.
that much about it.
Just watch, observe, and watch Antoine kick butt. All right, thank you. Oh, if they want to follow you, where can they follow you online? Because you've got a podcast too.
Yeah, my podcast is the JD Podcast on iTunes or anywhere you listen to podcasts. And on Instagram, it's Antoine JD Try.
Awesome. Thanks, man.
Thanks.
Cool. Thank you, Antoine, and thank you, YT community, for tuning into today's episode. If you are picking up what we're putting out there, please leave a review on iTunes. It really helps the visibility of the show. We are on a mission to create a better world, and we do that through this pod by sharing stories of people looking, finding, and living their purpose with the intention to realize that we are all subject to this human condition, and we are never alone. Creating connection with like-minded people is what it's about. So if you are ready to take it up, people, there are so many ways to live the high vibe life. Come on retreat with us. Mary talked about this last week in our episode 120. You can also rock our new Boco trucker hat. One of our Awaken Ready tees or tanks. You can join the team. You can work with me on your mind skills. You can join the M21 Revolution for $21 a month. You can go plant-based for 1 day this week and check out our cookbooks to help you do that. And there is more and more and more ways to live the high vibe life. So go to yogitriathlete.com for all the info and for links to connect with Antoine. Up level, people, that's what it's about. And I can tell you that up leveling is not without intensity or the very slow, painful death of the ego. But with the proper skills, intensity smooths itself right into powerful living. So I ask you, are you willing to watch yourself a little closer and learn more about how you are truly moving through the world? Are you awake to the opportunities in your life, or are you brushing them off as a bad day? Living powerfully, abundantly, and joyfully is the divine right of all, and that all includes you.